I had written to McDonald's way back when I used to be living out of Europe. And during those days, they had said that because they can't serve beef as the ingredient, they had no intentions of coming into India. So I'd forgotten about the whole thing. So once I was back in India, and one day my neighbor walked across to me, and he's a person who's in the kitchen business, in the kitchens for restaurants and hotels. And he said that he has kind of tied up with McDonald's and he needed some support. And I said, all right, so what support do you want? He said, well, I want some support in terms of finances. So I said, how much are you looking at? So I said, well, I'm looking at about ₹1 million of commitment from you, like I'm doing with a lot of my friends. So you write me a check. So I gladly started writing a check for him. And he says, when I started filling the amount, he said, no, just fill in ₹1. Because this is only a commitment fee when the whole thing goes through. Anyway, I forgot about the whole thing. A few months later, I very casually asked him what happened. And he said, well, their expectations are very high. They wanted me to leave all my businesses, devote my entire time to McDonald's, and I wasn't going to do that. So therefore, I gave it up. And so I casually asked him if it was all right, could I take all the papers and kind of understand what they wanted. And I took those papers, wrote to McDonald's, and the rest is history. So sometimes from that time onwards, I was more or less in what I call real estate business. I was developing offices, housing for expats, because I understood expats very well, having worked overseas for many years. And when the opportunity came in mid-90s, of getting tied up with McDonald's, the opportunity of being a mass marketeer, I thought was very, very interesting from somebody who was fairly into niche businesses till then. And well, I grabbed it with both arms. I think in any business that you get in, somebody will say that you had such a strong brand behind you, so as if success was already written. But it's very, very untrue to think like that. I think you've got to make huge investments in time, effort, and money to be able to bring a business like this around. It took us nearly 13 years to bring this business around, so it's not been a small time at all. So I think you've got to stay the course. Once you believe in something, you've got to work every day, irrespective of the ups and downs, and stay focused on the job at hand. And there comes a time when everybody starts looking at you and starts calling you a very successful person. The fact is that there were 10 years before that everybody thought, God, what the hell was I doing out there? No, it was McDonald's way of looking at it. In fact, they wanted to have 4 JVs in India, ideally for North, West, East, and South. But I think somewhere along the line they thought this 2 JV partners would be sufficient. And that's how the whole thing got divided. And I think the opportunity is so large that I think it would be more or less impossible for any one person to grapple with it. Well, nobody knows how things happen. At this stage, there's no real urgency for us to go public because we didn't have any equity partner till now in the business. Our business is cash positive. It is generating sufficient cash for our growth presently. Having said that, nobody knows in the future. It's a question of what kind of growth are we going to see in this country. And I think clearly we have just about started. I think the growth that we're going to see is going to be just huge.